All right, we are live. Welcome everybody back. This is Donovan Sadiq. I'm known as the Recovering Democrat. It is great to have you guys here. It has been a while since I have been on, but you guys can see me on the Dimitri K Show at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. A lot of stuff going on here in Southern California. The weather's been kind of crazy. I live by myself. I am a bachelor. I'm divorced twice, and my kids are grown. And when you are living by yourself, there are things you need to do as a homeowner to maintain your home. And for those of you guys that know me, know that when I retired, I basically upgraded my home by basically tearing it down and building it up from the structure. And I put on redwood panels and stuff like that, because even though redwood is more expensive, it's going to last longer and natural barrier to insects and all that other stuff. It's going to cost a little bit more money, but in the long run, less work in the long run. A lot of people upgrade their homes and they put on those shingles for like, they'll last for 5 or 6 years and you got to do it again. You know, every 5 or 6 years, you got to do it again, do it again. Just go ahead and pay the money up front, get it done, whatever. So for those of you guys that are homeowners or new homeowners, whatever, you know, you're investing in a property and you want to maintain its value, if not to get more, you know, out of the equity and get more out of the value of the home. So you do that by maintaining the house. You can always tell renters or people who don't really know much about it when you look at their yard. If the yard is not maintained, it's probably a renter living there, most likely. Very rare is it an older person who's gotten so old where they can't maintain their property. I mean, it does happen, but it's very rare. It's very rare. So, yeah. You could always tell by the property how it's maintained. So being by myself, springtime is here, and there's certain things I have to do to maintain my property. I know in my backyard, I have a lot of fruit trees back there, things that I maintain to give it that zen backyard garden as I get older. And, you know, I have to prune the leaves, vacuum the leaves, which is mulching the leaves, and, you know, keeping everything going, put new mulch down, you know, trim everything back, get it ready for summer and all that other good stuff. And it's good for a year, then I do it again the next year. So I've been putting a lot of work in doing that, and I take pride when I'm back there doing it. I know I complain about it a lot, but when it's done, it's such a beautiful thing, and it's so therapeutic. So even if you live in an apartment, out on your little patio area, whatever, you know, you should be having little planter gardens or something of that nature. It's very therapeutic. And like I said, when the pandemic hit and people were worried about this and they were worried about that, I had fruit trees. Right now, it is the wintertime, and the citrus plants have all grown. I have so many grapefruit, lemon, oranges. Geez, who knows back there? It's a lot of the citrus fruits are still in season right now, so I got to go back there and pluck that stuff as well. So many lemons that my tree broke in half because of the weight. So again, if you're a homeowner, it makes no sense to me that you do not have some form of a fruit tree back there in case a pandemic happens or something happens to where you're going to need to eat. You know, I always try to tell people, and I should do this myself, like put like a walnut tree back there or a date tree or something, you know, that has fiber a little bit. And it's really to do, you know, I've got peach trees back there. I got all kinds of stuff. I need to put a walnut tree or something, pecan tree or something back there. That would really be nice. The only thing I hate about those things is, especially when it comes to the date trees, very messy. Very, very, very messy. But I do like it when the hummingbirds come and they want to like go through your garden and look at what you got. And, you know, you set up a little hummingbird feeder and they all come in there and do their thing. It's really nice and refreshing. So, yeah, I live in an old neighborhood of the city, and I'm telling you, it's very peaceful over here. Even my neighbors put up a gazebo the other day, and, you know, we have these big backyards, and you can sit back there where I live. I can literally sit back. I can watch the air show from the air base, which is about 2 miles away from where I live. I can literally walk to the base's main gate, and I can watch the air show right from my backyard, or turn the other way, Ontario Airport, and watch the planes come in and go, LAX, Santa Ana, Burbank, whatever. So it's very, very peaceful. As you get older, you slow down. But today's March 25th, 2024. Today is my brother's 55th birthday. Happy birthday, Smoke Dog. Smoke Dog is 55 now. He has turned the big double nickel. We are getting older. For my brother and I, who had a pretty rough start in life, we lost our father at a young age. And we would sit and we would always talk about how we would be as fathers, how we would be as men. And, you never think farther than kind of where you're at, what young people are. And now we're middle-aged old men. Middle-aged old men. And I'll be 54 this year. So, again, we've come a long way. And actually, on this very day, he's having a grandbaby being born right now as we speak. A grandbaby is being born. And that just reinforces to me how the younger generation comes into fruition and the older generation is getting pushed out. And that's the way it is. And that's the way it always shall be. Accept it. Okay, what I want to talk about today, you guys, a lot of stuff is going on. The new black media, they keep telling us over and over and over again how, don't worry about the black, we don't have to do nothing for those black people. They're going to vote for us regardless. We're not worried about the polls. We're not worried about any of that stuff, right? If they're not worried about the black voter, why are they hiring specific PR people to specifically target black voters? If the Democratic Party wanted to save itself, it's a very, very simple fix. Start depositing reparations checks into black people's account. Oh, but Donovan, how do we know who's black and who's not? And da. It is very simple. It is very simple. You can say all you want about this and all of that, and it's ridiculous. They know who is fundamental blacks and descendant of slaves from those that aren't. They already know that stuff. It's all in the archives. It's all in the Library of Congress. All the receipts are there. Most of us, you're talking about only 4 generations. 4 generations. And even if you can't figure it out right now, okay? Let's say you can't even figure it out right now, right? Just deposit the checks anyway. Deposit the checks anyway to get these Negroes to vote for you. I'd say a nice $10,000 is a nice down payment to start. Just start doing it. Are you giving billions to Ukraine? You're giving billions to illegal immigrants. You're giving billions to Taiwan now, Israel, who's involved in a genocide. Why not? What's it going to hurt? What's another $2 billion to the national debt? If you really want to save democracy. If you really want to stay in power. Ladies and gentlemen, black people are so pissed off now that even the boule is acting like they were on this side the whole time. They can't defend Kamala Harris. They're looking at her and seeing these migrants come into their neighborhoods and their areas, and they're like, what the hell is going on? This is what you voted for. This is the Democratic Party. How can black people be so for a party that is so anti-black by its fundamental founding that you got these people voting for against their own oppression? No, I'm not telling you to vote a Republican. These are all the same people. They're all the same people. When it comes down to it, it's a game. It's a game of good cop versus bad cop. How many of you guys have been arrested or seen shows where you see the guy being interrogated and you got the one guy that's slamming the book at him? I used to love a movie with Martin Lawrence. It's called, I forgot the name of it. Damn it, it was a really good, Blue Streak. Remember when he was impersonating a cop? And so he's going by what he knows of what cops are, right? He goes into the room to interrogate Dave Chappelle, and he's beating them and stuff, and he's just really going at him, and the cops are kind of trying to turn their head and stuff, and he's trying to get a confession out of him. And Chappelle knows who he is, and he's like, just shut up. And he's just trying to get a confession out of the guy, right? In a lot of movies, you got that cop that's just very aggressive, and do this, or we're gonna throw the book at you, whatever. Then you got that one cop that goes, hey, look, I know you really want to get back to your family. I know you really want to do the right thing. Give us a name, give us something, and it's really going to help you out in your case, which it really doesn't. But that's what they tell you, right? And like I tell everybody, the first thing you do when you are in a situation with law enforcement is keep your mouth shut and request a lawyer. You do all your speaking through the lawyer. Trust me, it works. Trust me. When the more you talk, the more you build a case against yourself, okay? No matter what they tell you, do not do any talking because they have the burden of proof. The burden of proof is on them. They have to prove it. Okay? Just keep your mouth shut. Just keep your mouth shut. They got you on camera. They got you on camera. Let your lawyer spin it, however they're going to spin it. So anyway, that's the kind of relationship Black people are in when it comes to politics. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now, people on the Demetra K show, and you guys can catch Demetra K on YouTube. You guys can also see her on African Diaspora News Channel if you guys haven't seen her. You've always got these Democratic shills, and they're sending out these Democratic shills out to the new Black media to disrupt the talking points, right? And it's funny because even though we're all united as the new Black media, we really don't have a talking point blueprint. We just seem to be talking about the same things. So they send these little shills out to disrupt the conversation, whatever. And on the Demetra K show, a person came out and said, well, what are the Republicans going to do for you? Nothing. Nothing at all. Has Donald Trump promised Black people anything? No, he hasn't promised anything. But what has Joe Biden promised? You guys stood by me. I'll stand by you. He promised to do away with qualified immunity. That's a specific promise to the Black community. The George Floyd bill, that's a specific promise to the Black community. Then he has the everybody promises, reduction of student debt or the relief of student debt, which affects a lot of Black females. This bullshit about Black females are the most educated, that's bullshit, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. Big up to men. Big up to men. Because we're smart enough to know I would rather not get into all this debt that I can't pay back than to have a degree, master's degree or PhD degree, and the job is only paying me $11 an hour. Okay, we're smart enough to know that. That's bullshit. Black women are not the most educated. They are the most enrolled. That's a fact. I know a lot of women that went to college, did not graduate, dropped out, had to get jobs to raise their families or whatever they have to do. Look at the statistics correctly. If you're asking within our community, are Black people the most educated? Yes. Black women? Yes. Within our community. Because they're the ones stupid enough to go get degrees they really can't afford to get. And I know that sounds harsh in my delivery, but you don't see a bunch of Black men worried about student debt forgiveness. You just don't see it. It's mostly the women. And then they got these master's degrees and the jobs are paying them $13, $12 an hour. And they're mad about that. And which is another issue when it comes to Black couples, the finances. The women are so determined to pay off Zaddy and that student debt relief that if a man's not making a certain amount of money, they think that's an issue. Or they think because they have a certain amount of degree, they should get a certain quality type of man. After the fact that they had a baby with Nook Nook in their younger years, but now that they got a degree, they want the nerd guy that they wouldn't give the time of day of in college to spin the block and pick them out. So that's where we're at with that. It's just, it's It's funny. It's funny, but it's true. It's just one of those things. So the Democratic Party now is panicking. They literally are panicking at the numbers. They're saying the economy is doing so much better and all this other stuff, the infrastructure bill, whatever. How the hell does the infrastructure bill affect black people? We don't even have infrastructure corporations. I got some black shills on here right now saying, well, we got the infrastructure. They're giving me all the talking points that the Democratic Party gives them. Name me one black corporation in America off the top of your head right now. I'll wait. That's my point. Do you know who's going to benefit from the infrastructure bill? Hispanics. Hispanics are going to benefit from that because guess what? When there is a construction company, most likely headed by a white person, their foremen or their executives, the ones that actually are doing the job, are the ones that are doing the recruiting, are usually a Hispanic guy and whatever, and he goes and gets family members and people that he knows, and they benefit from that. I'll give you a better example. My city, which is known as Moreno Valley, formed in 1984. So my city is a fairly new city. I FOIA requested the city contracts. The city contracts in regards to who maintains the parks. Very simple type maintenance. All of the contracts that the city has issued goes to Hispanic contractors. Isn't that strange? Not one contract in the city of Moreno Valley goes to a black contractor. People will say, well, it doesn't go to an Asian contractor either. When you look at the parks that are maintained in the city of Moreno Valley, the contracting firm employees are predominantly Hispanic. So when people are running around here wondering, well, how are the Hispanics doing this and whatever the deal is? These guys are making $27, $26 an hour through that company, getting the contract from the city. And I think the lowest contract that I saw on my FOIA request was $165,000 a year that company was contracted with the city. $165,000 a year. So if you have a crew of, let's say, 50 employees, that's a significant amount of money. You can pay them in benefits and pay. And that's why you see these guys have major trucks. They're not worried about how much the gas goes up or whatever. They carpool together and they work together and they pool their resources and they're making the money. Where are the black companies? So how is an infrastructure bill helping black people? We are now a permanent underclass. If you guys tune into the Demetra K show on Sundays, you will see Demetra K and I always argue about the numbers. And really the numbers really doesn't matter in the long term because you're looking at we're getting numbers from a source that underrepresents our numbers anyway. The census says that we are 14% of the population. If you go back to the 1960s, our population then was 13%. So do you mean to tell me in 60 years, our population within the United States as black people has only grown 1%? So by using the government's very own numbers, that would mean there is a systematic genocide being waged against black people by both parties because of their policies against black people. In 1973-72, the Asian population in the United States was 2.5%, 3%. Asian population today is about 8%. And they are the wealthiest group within the United States. How did that happen? These are numbers. If you guys are asking me, would estimate that the black representation in the United States is about 25 to 27% of the population. That's what it is. But I also tell you guys, reality is what you see out your front door. In my neighborhood, when I moved here in it's a long time ago. Basically, My family was in the city of Moreno Valley before it was Moreno Valley. We were little towns known as Edgemont, Marsh Air Reserve Base, Moreno, and Sunnymead. Those were the towns that were kind of known around here. This was mostly a military town. Woo! Mostly black and white and Hispanic. Okay? You didn't really see a lot of Hispanics in the military, but in my neighborhood, it was mostly white because where I lived was like known as the airline street. So most guys would retire from the base. They would retire out in the little Edgemont community here, the airline streets, Vought, Corsair, McDonnell, Boeing, Pan Am. Do you guys get the narrative with the streets in my area? I live off of Pan Am. And they would go work for McDonnell Douglas or Boeing down in Long Beach, and they would commute to and from. Back in those days, it only took about 40 minutes to go from where I live to Long Beach. Okay, and it was a 2-lane highway, 3-lane highway going into LA off the 60. The 60 was like a 2-lane highway back in the day. It's like 4 or 5 lanes now. But anyway, now over time, the military people have moved out, retired, passed on, moved on, whatever. I'm the last black man standing in my neighborhood. I am literally one of the last black men standing. All my neighbors, just about all of them, speak Spanish. Their English is broken, which is fine, but they mostly speak Spanish. Demographics are changing. Black people in the state of California have been priced out. We love as black people to tell ourselves how great we are and how well we're doing. Oh, look, I got a Mercedes. How many of you guys in the military remember you'd see those old buck sergeants, E4s, and those like E5s getting Mercedes, the low-end Mercedes, and they come on base with the Mercedes, but then you see the wing commander, he come in with this beater. You'd always see the wing commander and the higher-ups with these beaters, just regular cars. But you see the E4s and the E5s, with their little Mercedes or the Maximas, and just there's something about our culture where we want to be more than what we actually are, right? We like to front, as they call it. It's called fronting. Because here's the wing commander coming in on a beater. But of course, we know he has the Lamborghini in the garage that he takes out on weekends when him and his wife are going up and down the hills or whatever they're doing their family time. That's wealth. We like to perpetrate it. So on the Demetra K Show, if you guys tune into the Demetra K Show, it's on YouTube, look it up. You will see Demetra and I arguing about that all the time. Oh, black people, we're doing this. Oh, black people, we're doing that. Oh, really? Really, Demetra? Where? You've got Beverly Hills. Show me where there's Blacktown. Show me where Blacktown is. The affluent black area that everybody in the United States knows, that's the affluent black area. Name it. I'm not talking individually in your city, because I know a lot of people in the DMV area, in Washington, there's an area over there. We're talking about off the top of your head, you could say this area and everybody knows what you're talking about. I'll wait. Because the area in the DMV, I still haven't really, I've heard about it, but I don't really know what they're talking about. Even here in California, there is no affluent black area. There just isn't. We have been priced out. The population of California is less than 6% black. Now, this is a Democratic state. Black people are the backbone of the Democratic Party, of their voting bloc. We're the only group that votes for a one party specifically. The majority of our votes goes to that one party. Please explain to me, in a Democratic state where Republicans have no power whatsoever, is the population of black people only 6%? I'll wait. I mean, after all, they should be kissing our asses since we vote for them unilaterally 90% plus. Hispanics don't do that. Hispanics vote Democrat at almost 50%. White people vote Democrat at almost 50%. Asians vote Democratic at about 60%. We're the only group that has a 90 percentile or better percentile in voting for one party. So please explain to me, with that type of loyalty, how the hell do we end up in a democratic utopia priced out of the economic society of a democratic state? By definition, blacks should be flocking to California. By definition. But they're not. Do you want to see what democratic policies do to a society? Come to California. Come to California. But we love busting our arms, telling us, oh, look, I'm this. I got the Escalade. I got this. I got that. Individually, yeah, some black people are doing great individually. You know, I don't like to brag. I'm okay individually. But I'm smart enough also to know that if I don't speak up for my people as a whole, it won't be too long before they round me up too. Once they destroy the 70% of black people that are not making it, it won't be long before they come after the 30%. So I need that 70% to stand with me because we're stronger together. I constantly say 70% of the black population is below the poverty line, at the poverty line, or just above it. If it's not true, then how is the population of black people in California less than 6% and declining? If we're doing so great, why is it that the Democratic Party of Chicago and New York are prioritizing illegal immigrants over their loyal voting bloc? But we're doing so great. And where are they putting these illegal immigrants? Are they putting them in Beverly Hills? Are they putting them in the suburbs where the white folks are at and all this other stuff? No, they're putting them in the black neighborhoods. What a payback for a loyal voting base. It's amazing. But the sad thing is, just like we said on the Demetri K show, a majority of black people are still going to vote for Joe Biden. A bunch of them. Just like the Democratic shills came on the show and said, well, what has the Republicans promised you? Nothing. Nothing. I'm voting for Donald Trump because I've already seen what a Donald Trump presidency has done. He wasn't concentrated on black people. He was concentrated on building that wall and keeping them Hispanics out. And then the mystery of the whole damn thing, if you talk to most Hispanics that are legally in this country or born here, they don't want these Venezuelans and people here either. Sometimes you have to listen to the source. Like I said, I'm not versed in the Latin culture because that's not my culture. But I'm not stupid enough not to listen to people who are in the culture and understand it better than I do to find out what's going on. When I went to the Middle East several times in the military, I didn't go there and say, well, do it the American way. This is the American way to do it. That is not what we were told to do. We were told to immerse ourselves into the culture, to not offend the culture. You're in their country. You got to understand their profits and motives and all that other stuff. Because if you don't understand that, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Ask an average Army, Marine Corps guy walking in these cities on the ground if they went in there and was like, okay, this is just like home. No, they had to understand what was going on around them in the culture that they were operating in. I can't hold Donald Trump accountable for something he didn't promise. So people say, well, then that's stupid. Then why vote for somebody who didn't promise you anything? Because to me, it's stupider to vote for somebody who promised me something that isn't going to give it to me anyway. A second Biden term, if you didn't get nothing the first term, you're definitely not going to get it the second term because he can't run for re-election. So Donald Trump can't run for re-election either. But one of the reasons I, Donovan Sadiq, the recovering Democrat, is going to vote for Donald Trump, one thing I know that he has promised on the trail, these people are going back. It's going to be the biggest deportation in the history of the world. That helps black people. That helps black people. Tyson's Foods just got rid of 1,200 unionized Americans. Fired them. Where was the union to protect them? Hired 42, or is it 52,000 illegal migrants. Where's Chuck Schumer and the Democrats that are protecting American jobs? Because the Democratic Party's for the workers. Where's that? You see, you Democratic shills, I could eat you guys up all day. All day. And your only comeback is, but if Trump gets in here, he's going to be a dictator and whatever. Let me tell you guys something. When you are of a black skin and you're at the bottom of society economically, it doesn't matter if a dictator comes in or not. Because who has more to lose? The person at the bottom or the people above the people at the bottom? When you ain't got nothing, you ain't got nothing to lose. So why should I fear a dictatorship? Let's look into history. 80% of your Cubans look like me. They're dark-skinned like I am. Why is it that the 80% of Cubans support Fidel Castro's regime 120%? Because he took land from the white Cubans and distributed it equitably among the people and educated them. Free education took them out of servitude and elevated them. That is why you did not get pushback from the 80% of Cubans under the Fidel Castro regime. He fed the people. He educated the people. He gave to the people. Because if you think about it, if you go down to Miami, show me a bunch of dark-skinned Cubans that are against Fidel Castro's regime in Cuba. There aren't any. There aren't any. And if there are, it's only a few. Most of your Cubans that are pissed off about Fidel Castro regime were the landlords that owned everything and kept the majority of the people in servitude. That's not democracy. I thought democracy was majority rule. People are waking up because we see that isn't really how democracy works. Democracy is an idea, kind of like trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics does work. The problem with trickle-down economics is the people at the top don't trickle the money down. Do you get it? It's not hard. It's not hard, guys. This whole thing is just, it's a game. And black people, like Malcolm X said, we are a political football. We are being kicked between both parties of good cop, bad cop. Nobody wants to take responsibility for the black issue. After the Civil War, the black issue and dealing with the slaves, the former slaves, was such an issue that nobody wanted to touch it. So much so that the Republicans threw their hands up and let, I think it was Rutherford B. Hayes, become president. Don't quote me, but one of these presidents come in. They stopped Reconstruction in the South and said, to hell with it. And then Jim Crow came right back into power, which is a slavery de facto. Summing it up. Neither of these parties wants to deal with the issue of the black citizen. If we're only 13% of the population, 14% of the population, how do we make up 70% of the prison industrial complex? That is a direct genocide of a people. Look at the policy when it comes to the illegal immigration. They're not letting the Haitians in. The Haitians have a humanitarian crisis dealing with the earthquake that they've never recovered from. Of course, they live on a fault, but that's no fault of their own, because I live on a fault. Devastating earthquake and an assassination of their president. That 100% is an acceptable means to seek asylum in the United States and to grant it. You can't come to some other country saying, well, I couldn't get work over here, so I'm coming over here to work. Ain't going to be done. And all you liberals out there better understand this. These illegals that are here, that isn't the problem. The problem is going to be their kids, because while they are waiting their 5 to 6 years for their court date, they're having children. They're having children here in the United States. Those children will become American citizens. So guess what? 5 years after they've broken our laws and been here, I'm the judge. Court date. Well, you came here illegally, sir. Unfortunately, you have to go. Your Honor, I have children here. I have children. So now I need to fill out other paperwork to neutralize me as a citizen, because I have children here, which is the common term for anchor baby. I have an anchor baby here. So even though I broke your laws in the time that I was here, I had children. So now I can legally stay here in one form or another, because who's going to take care of the children? You liberals better think this out. You liberals better think this out. And you boule black people, you better think this out. You need to think this out. It's not a very good day. In other news, Donald Trump is supposed to come up with a bond today in regards to his appeal of his New York property scamming situation. $500 million. Now remember, Jared Kushner, on the way out of the White House, was given $2 billion by the Saudis. They are still waiting to see what is going on. Today, he also has made an appearance in New York in regards to the Stormy Daniels case, that he has to be there. So we are, as of this making of this video and this podcast, I'm still waiting to hear news of the outcome of that, if he will come up with the money. Now, here's the problem with him coming up with the money from foreign sources. If he is a potential presidential candidate that gets elected that owes money to foreign governments, that could be a problem. How many of you guys that work for the government, military or civil service, when you do your background check for your security clearance, the first thing that they ask you is all about all your finances and your debt. And they ask you that to make sure that you're not leveraged against somebody, so you might be compromised with top secret stuff. That's the first thing they ask. What is your finances? Who do you owe money to? This is not good, you guys. This is looking really, 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 really bad. No matter how you spin it. But guess what? If you're black and you're that 70% of the black population that's at the bottom, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're at the bottom. When you're at the bottom, the only way to go is up. It can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. You're at the bottom. Everybody shits on you. And until you wake up and you say, I got to stop voting for a party that doesn't do anything for me. Do you realize that if the Democrats lose 20% of the black vote, they can't win an election? And maybe it's time that they start losing elections, because politics is about power. That's all it's about. Who does what and what. And we have already found out just in this podcast alone that both parties don't give a damn about the black citizen. So Donovan, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do is we start voting our interests. And I'm not talking about as a group. When people used to tell me, oh, well, you're black, you should vote this. You're black, you should. What the hell are you talking about? Not every black person you meet grew up in the ghetto. I went to private school all of my life. I grew up in a secured environment. I lived behind a military fence, armed guards. What are you talking about? As you see right now, Donald Trump and the Republican Party is pandering, even though that's a bad thing to do, but they're pandering for the black vote. And the Democratic Party is panicking because they're losing the black vote. This is how politics is supposed to work. They're not supposed to take your vote for granted. They're supposed to compete for your vote. Your vote is for sale. It's for sale. And if the Democratic Party really, really wanted to win this election, they would start depositing those checks. Regardless, Donald Trump would have done it. He wouldn't have cared because he wants to win. I'm going to vote for a party that keeps promising me stuff and never delivers? That makes no sense. Both parties do not give a damn about the black citizen. And to vote for this guy, Joe Biden, to reward him with another term, you definitely have to be out of your mind. That's when you know mental illness in the black community is real. When you look at this man's record against black people. Well, I don't know how many times I have to say it, but again, I'm Donovan Sadiq. I am the recovering Democrat, and I'm going to tell you guys, join me and my compadre, Demetra K, on Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, California time, for the Demetra K Show. Check out my podcast right here on iHeartRadio, blah, 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 blah. Again, things are heating up, and it's looking very, very bad for Joe Biden in the swing states. He is behind Donald Trump in some swing states by 10 points because black people are waking up. They're seeing what is going on in real time, and it's unacceptable. All right, you guys, check me out again later on. We're going to be putting up some more videos as quickly as possible. Again, happy birthday to my brother today. He is the big double nickel. Double nickel, we made it so far, and we'll see how far we go from here. Many blessings to all you guys out there. You guys stay out there, be safe, be prayed up, be blessed. And I'm going to tell my ladies that are my black ladies, single independent moms that are leading their families out there. If you're going to lead your family, you also got to protect your family. Please, this election is coming up soon. We do not know what is going to happen, but you need to be able to defend your family because your dad is 2 states away. Your off and on boyfriend is probably with his girlfriend or whatever he's doing. Can you defend your family? Sounds like to me, if you can't, sounds like to me you need a man. I'm Donovan Sadiq, the recovering Democrat. I will see you guys again next week. Tune in. I am not done with the Democratic Party yet.